warm welcome to Power News, your window to the power sector. I'm Juhi Rajput. Let's begin with the top stories. Mines Ministry can allocate leases on first-come, first-served basis, says Auditor General. Power Ministry for amendments to Electricity Act 2003. Centre's plea against auction of resources opposed in Supreme Court. DERC has approved a 2% hike in power tariff of BYPL while a 1% increase for BRPL. No power cuts this summer for industries, claims PSPCL. Coal India issues 172 letters of assurances for a total capacity of 1,08,878 megawatt. GMR drags TNEB to Supreme Court over non-payment of rupees 600 crore due. Uttarakhand High Court cancels 2 GVK L&T deals, awards 1 to Reliance Infra. And Rajasthan government scraps tenders of BHEL worth rupees 12,000 crore. Well, those were the top stories of the week. Let's move to our next section, quick updates, to know the latest developments in the power sector. The Environment Ministry has cleared the way for the world's largest consolidated solar power project to be located in Dhule, Maharashtra. The project was announced last May but hit an obstacle in September when state officials in the Environment Ministry said that a portion of the land meant for it was classified as a forest and thus couldn't be readily allocated for industrial development. The project, which is a part of the larger 150 megawatt solar power project at Dhule, is entirely financed by the Maharashtra government, with around 80% of the project cost loaned from German Development Bank. The state power utility Tamil Nadu Generation and Distribution Corporation Limited will lose over rupees 4,312 crore in the current year as it buys or generates power at a higher cost and sells it at a lower price. According to the policy note on energy tabled in the Assembly, the gap has been closed from a shortfall of rupees 14,312 crore in 2011-12. The realization then was much lower at rupees 3.74 per unit against a cost of rupees 6.15. The major factors contributing to the deficit are the need to buy power to meet the growing demand and the shortfall of rupees 2.41 on every unit of power sold to the consumer. Environment and forest clearance for 89 power project is pending with the government. The Lok Sabha was informed last week. While 41 power projects are awaiting environment clearance, 48 power projects require diversion of forest land. A total of 165 power projects were granted environment clearance and 143 power projects given forest clearance during the last 3 years. The main reason for pendency were delay in submission of environmental impact assessment report and environmental management plan, including public hearing report and non-submission of complete information by project proponents. The Environment Ministry has allowed developers of coal-based power, steel and sponge iron projects to apply for its clearance even as environmental and forest approval for the linked coal mine or block is under its consideration, easing the clearance process for these industries. The move comes as a relief for promoters of thermal power projects, steel and sponge iron manufacturing units using domestic coal. At present, developers in these sectors have had to wait for a final forest and environment clearance for the linked coal source while applying for the ministry approval for the project. The Karnataka Electricity Regulatory Commission has increased power tariff across all categories by an average 13 paise per unit with immediate effect. This is the fourth such hike in the last 2 years. The hike varies from 10 to 20 paise per unit for different category of consumers. For the industrial and commercial categories, the increase has been 20 paise per unit, while in the domestic segment, it has been 10 paise. The Uttarakhand High Court has ordered cancellation of 2 hydropower project contracts of the GVK L&T consortium and awarded one of them to Reliance Infrastructure Limited. The High Court said awarding of the 200 megawatt Mapang Bogudiar and 170 megawatt Bogudiar Sirkari Bheol projects in favor of GVK L&T was utterly mala fide. 3 years ago, Reliance Infrastructure had challenged the award of the contracts to GVK L&T consortium, saying that it did not meet the qualifying criteria. And now the news of the week. Chairman CEA has called a meeting of Coal India officials, power companies and officials from the coal and power ministries to break the deadlock over fuel supply agreements. Earlier, power companies have refused to sign the FSAs, saying that the agreements are titled heavily in favor of Coal India, the state monopoly which has offered FSAs that impose negligible penalties if it defaults.
Coal India Board received a presidential directive that asked it to sign fuel supply agreement for plants that have come up between April 2009 and December 2011. The presidential directive, however, did not mention anything about plants that came up after January 2012. Coal India Board followed the presidential directive in every word and invited companies for signing agreements for plants that were commissioned prior to December 2011. It took no decision for units that were commissioned since then and will be commissioned till March 2015. According to a ministry estimate, around 40,000 megawatt of power generation capacities are to come up during this period are under question as it requires about 170 million tons of additional coal per year.
Uncertainty on the fuel supply from the coal side has already hampered the projects that have been commissioned in the 11th five-year plan, and they are going to hamper more for the projects which are going to be commissioned in the 12th five-year plan. It has definitely affected the interest of developers, of lenders and of other investors. It must be set right. Government intervention at the PMO level has been a welcome one, but what is needed is the regulatory mechanism which to take care of the views of coal industry and also the views of consumers like power sector.
Following the refusal to sign the new agreement for power generation units that have been set up after December 2011, public sector companies like Damodar Valley Corporation and NTPC approached the CEA to help break the deadlock for PSUs as well as private producers like Reliance, Tata Power and Adani. The new fuel supply agreement is heavily skewed in favor of Coal India to the extent that the 80% trigger level considers 85% capacity utilization. This means the actual coal that would be supplied will be 68% of the total coal required for running any plant at 100% capacity utilization.
While the power sector has moved forward post Electricity Act 2003 and National Electricity Policy 2005, it has moved forward in a way that huge private sector investments have come. In the 11th five-year plan, almost 40% of the capacity has been added through private sector route, and in the 12th plan this number will be even more. But corresponding changes have not at all happened in the coal industry. Coal industry, there was a bill which has been pending for last 12-13 years in the parliament. It is better that this bill is revived, but pending revival of this bill, as I said, regulatory mechanism in the coal sector must be put in place sooner than later.
Power companies are also not comfortable with coal being supplied at ports without any consideration for standard practice delivery of imported coal at the thermal power station. In addition, seller also has the authority to terminate fuel supply agreement in case of any dispute. Power producers feel that this is grossly in favor of Coal India and it should have been normally through an arbitration process.
The government is weighing a new coal pricing dispensation to help Coal India recover the extra cost of imported coal, which it might have to give power plants to comply with the fuel supply agreement. The agreement means Coal India must guarantee supply of at least 80% of fuels required by the plants. The government is planning to evolve a pricing dispensation where power companies will have to bear the extra cost of imported coal to the extent of difference in the quantity of imported and domestic coal. Well, it's time to take a quick break, but there's a lot more on the other side. Stay tuned in.
फिर बिजली गुल, अब तो 2-4 घंटे की छुट्टी।
गांव का केबल ही घटिया है।
देश में बिजली उत्पादन का लगभग 40% भाग दोषपूर्ण, घटिया केबल और बिजली की चोरी में व्यर्थ चला जाता है। क्यों ना एक ऐसा पावर केबल चुने जो बिजली बचाए और शॉर्ट सर्किट का जोखिम घटाए। सर्वोत्तम केबल रवीन केबल, प्राइम कैप, रवीन केबल्स उत्पादन।
To turn movements into a ballet, you need a choreographer. To turn products into integrated solutions, you need Larsen & Toubro. L&T's engineering expertise, manufacturing capability and application experience by introducing new levels of pace, performance and convenience at major utilities around the country. Integrated solutions in electrical and automation from Larsen & Toubro.
Northeastern Electric Power Corporation Limited, a Schedule A corporation under the Ministry of Power, playing a significant role in the integration and efficient development of hydroelectric and thermal power projects in the central sector, benefiting life benefiting people. NEEPCO, contributing and empowering the life of Northeast region.
जल से जल तक, मेगा वाटर से मेगावाट्स तक, SJVN लिमिटेड।
Welcome back. Consolidating its IP repertoire, L&T Electrical and Automation arm yet again filed more than 100 patent applications for its electrical and automation products during the year 2011-12. This is the fifth consecutive year that E&A has achieved this feat and led the march for creation of intellectual property within various group companies of Larsen & Toubro.
L&T Electrical and Automation Division has filed 162 patent applications along with 16 trademark applications, 10 design registrations and 9 copyrights in 2011-12, which is an improved performance over the previous year. It also filed 10 international patent applications through Patent Corporation Treaty during the year. From 1999-2000 to 2011-12, Electrical and Automation has filed 856 patent applications, 256 design registrations, 110 trademark application and 20 copyright applications.
We are very much on our own as far as all our product development is concerned. In fact, our last collaboration got over almost 30 years ago. And in these 30 years, we have had to make sure that we develop and come to market with products. This has enabled us to develop a culture of innovation, of getting everybody to be a part of the process. And I think what you are seeing in the last few years is actually a result of this process, the culmination of this process, which is giving a lot of new ideas, a lot of innovation coming in, which is resulting in this large number of patents.
Electrical and Automation has recently earned rich recognition for its protection of intellectual property and the development of diverse portfolio of designs in field including electrical, mechanical, marine engineering, defense infrastructure, healthcare and engineering at the 4th National IP Award 2012 to encourage intellectual property creators, contributing towards a strong innovation ecosystem in the country.
Finally, it's a measure of the innovation, the product development effort that the electrical and automation business bears in mind. We have a very few Indian companies which are actually product oriented, and to that extent it is the product orientation which gives a larger amount of patents which come from being in a repetitive production.
At the awards ceremony organized by Controller General of Patents, Designs and Trademarks in collaboration with Confederation of Indian Industry on the occasion of World Intellectual Property Day, L&T's Electrical and Automation Division received the top 2 intellectual property awards for the top Indian private company in large scale and the top Indian organization in designs.
Effective management of the IPR activity has seen a steady rise in the protection of L&T's intellectual wealth. This gives company the sustainable competitive advantage to maintain its leadership. The patent applications have largely emanated out of economic needs to retain competitive advantage, remain environment friendly and deliver more safety and value to the customers. And now some news from solar sector. The National Solar Mission, which aims to install 20,000 megawatt capacity of solar energy by 2020, has commissioned 89% of its allotted capacity in its first stage. The government had signed power purchase agreements with 28 solar power developers for 140 megawatt solar photovoltaic projects in January 2011, out of which 125 megawatt of capacity stands commissioned currently.
In the early this year, there was an apprehension that projects taken up under the first phase of Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission are running behind schedule and around totaling 150 megawatt of solar photovoltaic power capacity would miss their deadline. But the progress so far is very good as most of the projects are commissioned.
In the first batch of first phase, we'd given out 150 megawatts of PV. Now, out of that, 125 megawatt is already commissioned. Some other projects are also getting commissioned quite soon. Besides this, there are large number of projects which have been commissioned in the state schemes. and the total commission capacity in India at the moment is about 950 megawatts. So which means that we've done very well as a country, and we have a large target of 20,000 megawatts, and I'm sure we will achieve it even before the deadline.
The delayed projects have been given 1 month extension with a part of their bank guarantee encashed. NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam, which executes the bidding and trades power with the developers, is satisfied with the result. They feel achievement would have been 100% if hiccups like allegations against Lanco and delays by some other developers had not taken place. NVVN is now stricter than before with the vision guidelines and is working more closely with the developers for batch 2 projects.
There is something built into the scheme. There is a penalty, and with that penalty these projects get extra time. But that extra time is also limited to up to 6 months. After that, then they don't get time. If they commission later than that, then they can probably come under some other scheme.
The solar PV projects under batch 2 of phase 1 with a selected capacity of 340 megawatts signed the PPA in January this year and will commission by February 2013. These projects are highly awaited as this round of bidding saw some big names in the solar energy market quoting tariffs as low as Rs 7.49 per unit.
One of the major participating companies in the mission, Lanco Infratech, recently faced allegations in irregularities such as creating front companies. The investigative report on the matter will soon be presented by NVVN in a week or two. Though preliminary investigation report says that the company did flout some guidelines, but there is no scam as such. But NVVN is more cautious with the batch 2 projects now. It's time for another short break here. Other side of the break, we'll have with us Mr. Vipin Sondhi, MD and CEO, JCB India, to talk on major opportunities and challenges in the infrastructure sector and construction equipment industry. Keep watching Power News.
When you are determined to be a winner, your desire to conquer is fueled by the power of your instinct. With eyes set on the target, you create your own path. Your determination inspires you to never give in. Then emerges a creator of a winning journey, blazing a trail for others to follow. We are Jindal Power Limited.
आज फिर मशीन बंद हो गई।
मशीन तो ठीक है, बिजली धोखा दे गई, केबल ही घटिया है।
मानो या न मानो, आज भी कई औद्योगिक क्षेत्रों में बिजली की कमी के कारण हजारों लोगों को खाली हाथ घर लौटना पड़ता है। तो क्यों न एक ऐसा पावर केबल चुने जो बिजली बचाए, बिजली का घाटा रोके और शॉर्ट सर्किट का जोखिम घटाए। चुने रवीन केबल्स। प्राइम कैब, रवीन केबल्स उत्पादन।
Welcome back. Well, if you look at the expected spend on infrastructure, it's almost double from $500 billion earlier to nearly $1 trillion in the 12th five-year plan. That means the infrastructure spend, whether on roads, bridges, ports, etc., is going to be enormous in coming years. The construction equipment industry is directly related to the investment made into infrastructure. As infrastructure development picks up, the demand for equipment will also be there. In line with the projected demand, the market value of equipment is expected to be a mammoth over $6.5 billion with earth-moving sector continuing to make headway and is expected to command a value of $3.7 billion. To talk on the subject, we're joined by Mr. Vipin Sondhi, MD and CEO, JCB India. Good evening, Mr. Sondhi, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Juhi.
Mr. Sondhi, Indian infrastructure sector needs an investment of almost $1 trillion during 12th five-year plan, but a record says that we have achieved less than 7% GDP growth against targeted 9% for the year 2011-12. According to you, what are the major challenges in successful execution of the infrastructure projects, and does government have an effective policy framework in place to achieve the infrastructure goal?
What's happened over the last 12 months or so, when you look at the infrastructure sector, order books are now dwindling to an extent. I do believe that credit offtake on a like-to-like basis was down by 40%. So there needs to be a boost to really take this forward. Execution has been an area where I think a lot of work we have to do as a country, and all of us have to do. A lot of coordination with state levels, at the state level, because execution is done at the state level, so there has to be far more linkage, which we found perhaps not very apparent. Land acquisition. Now, land acquisition, there is a bill in Parliament, but it is absolutely critical for any infrastructure project to take shape. And then, of course, we have the tax reforms that have been, pending. But we see now movement forward. I mean, if you look at the DTC, at least some parts of the DTC have been incorporated, whether it's a negative service list or even raising of duties. And I shouldn't say raising of duties is positive, but if we're going to settle for a rate of 12%, then there's a movement in that direction. GST, again, a roadmap is coming in some way, but it could have been harder, and that would have been more positive for the budget.
The huge infra growth plan provides an ample opportunity for the construction equipment manufacturing industry, and presently all the world-class manufacturers have their presence in the Indian market. This has resulted in strong competition within the industry. Do you feel there must be a level playing field for indigenous manufacturers?
So to take your part of competition, I think there should be competition. But the other part, that should there be a level playing field for domestic manufacturers? Certainly yes, because at the end of the day, we must encourage domestic capacity creation, which is being done. Actually, all major manufacturers, both Indian as well as overseas, have set up plants in India. There should be no reason why, except for equipment not produced in India, there should be no reason of bringing duty levels other than what are commonly understood as duty levels.
Today, JCB has become India's largest manufacturer of construction equipment by providing innovative, strong and high-performance products. How do you see this growth journey of JCB?
We started as a joint venture. This is, JCB is a British company, very synonymous in the UK and Europe with JCB. And it's set up as a joint venture as early as 1979. And in 2003, it became JCB India became a 100% subsidiary of the parent company. After that, we've grown. Where you're sitting today is the world's largest plant for manufacturing what is called the backhoe loaders, which is commonly in India understood as just JCB, across all manufacturers. We have plants in Pune that we set up in 2006, 2007 for focusing on our heavy line equipment. So we do like to say that 1 out of every 2 equipment sold in India is a JCB.
JCB today is the market leader in construction equipment sector in India with over 50% market share. According to you, what are the major reasons for this success?
Well, certainly it's people. I have to start from there. We have, and I'm very clear we have the best team in the construction equipment sector, highly engaged, very enthusiastic. But then we look at what is forward and what is behind it. We've got the largest dealer network and the most professional dealer network, and we spend a lot of time with our dealers because that's the first point of our customers. And we have almost 6,500 people in sales service of our dealer in different parts of the country, and we have almost 430 touch points with our customers. So that's the first part. The second part is our manufacturing facilities, which are state of the art. So today you can pick up any equipment and it could be worthy of selling in any part of the world. Technology is up to date, the plants are up to date, people I've already mentioned. We have also the good fortune of being able to provide volumes to our suppliers. So increasingly, we're getting automobile suppliers who are world-class in themselves, catering now to us. So quality levels automatically are a given. And that is, I think, all of these are factors, I think, that help us maintain this position. Yeah.
As far as Indian infrastructure is concerned, what role does JCB is going to play in building India's infrastructure?
I think very humbly, if I might state, our machines are used in every aspect of digging earth. So in a sense, we are grounded. Wherever earth needs to be dug, moved, a JCB is there. And if that is the role that we play in infrastructure projects, which ultimately go into building India, we're very humbly, very happy to be participating in that.
As 12th Five-Year Plan provides enormous opportunities for construction equipment industry, what are your future growth plans?
We don't forecast growth, but we definitely are clear of the opportunities. So what JCB will continue to do is invest in newer plants, invest in its people, but very importantly, invest in new products which are relevant for the Indian market. And also able to, I mean, what is very interesting is that not all products which are available overseas are suitable for the Indian market because of the conditions in which we operate, in the fuel conditions which we operate, within the maintenance conditions which we operate. So our products actually are far more robust, far more hardy, far stronger than products made anywhere else in the world. So these products can be used anywhere once they are relevant for India, and that's the focus. So our R&D team spends a lot of time to ensure that these products are products which are worthy of Indian conditions.
Thanks, Mr. Sondhi, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, Juhi, and great pleasure.
And with this, we come to an end of this edition of Power News. Keep sending us your suggestions and views at powernews@zeenetwork.com or call us on 011-405-60701. I'll see you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.